Okay, so a lot of people have been asking me to make a Slayer guide, so here it is. So first things first, what you're going to be glyphing is your knockdown strike for the crit, the power link to overhand strike, the skill damage, and the increased crit factor on the next skill. All good. Also the damage mitigation as well, since it's pretty useful in a lot of like dungeons for like cheesing mechanics. You're going to glyph your Whirlwind for crit factor because that shit's good. You're going to go for the damage and power link on overhand strike. You're going to glyph every single fucking thing on hard thrust because that skill is amazing. You're going to be glyphing the power link to overhand strike on startling kick. Glyph all of your shit on measured slice. And glyph all of your shit on eviscerate. So that pretty much does it for glyphs. I do not use chains because they kind of ruin consistency sometimes, because a lot of the things you're going to be doing on Slayer are relatively dynamic, as in like you're going to be changing up the pace of things. When playing Slayer, it's all about understanding your cooldowns and keeping up consistency. What I mean is you're going to be more or less constantly doing something. You're going to go into a starter, your starters being Whirlwind, Hard Thrust, and Knockdown Strike. You're going to go into one of your starters, and then after going into one of your starters, you're going to chain into the rest of your kit, being Overhand, Eviscerate, Measured Slice, Punishing Blow. And then after casting Punishing Blow or Measured Slice, you're going to simply animation cancel Overhand Strike, and then simply pick a new starter, and then pretty much rinse repeat the process, and then use Measured Slice and or Punishing Blow whenever respective abilities are off cooldown, which I will kind of show here as best as I humanly can. So I'm going to choose a starter, let's say Whirlwind, Overhand, Eviscerate, Overhand, Punishing Blow, Measured Slice. I did it in that order because of one of Slayer's passives, which is whenever Measured Slice hits, Punishing Blow has a reduced cooldown. And it's worth it to do this because I'll get another Punishing Blow off in about like 7 or 8 seconds after the initial cast. Another thing to keep in mind is your swift linkage window. Now, if you're playing Slayer, just generally speaking, you're going to proc this passive naturally, but it's good to know what it does, which is whenever Overhand Strike, Eviscerate, Punishing Blow, or Measured Slice hit within a chain, you gain a stack, and at 4 stacks, you gain a 10-second buff that provides you with 20% extra skill damage across your entire kit. I don't really need to tell any of you why this is good, but it attributes to a very large part to Slayer's DPS. So, just keep that in mind when playing, and in a sense, maybe if you see that your Punishing Blow is just coming off cooldown, but you don't quite have the passive proc yet, you might like want to wait. Like, let's imagine, right? Let's put up a scenario, right? Let's say my Punishing Blow is on cooldown, right? Like I saw, like 4 or 5 seconds, right? We can just stack up the passive, and then after stacking the passive, simply pop the Punishing Blow. It's being affected by that extra skill damage, and then just keep up your consistency. Be constantly watching those cooldowns, and just trying to keep up with what's going on. See, when playing, you just gotta think to yourself, what is my overhand strike what is my overhand strike cooldown? Like, how many charges I got left, because that takes very large precedence. What is my eviscerate cooldown right now? What is my Punishing Blow on? What is my Measured Slice on? And then from there, you kind of just play around that. You should be using your ultimate Unsheath off cooldown. Mind you, the overcharge caps at 2 stacks. And so whenever the enrage is up and it's off cooldown, go ahead and use that. Keep in mind that once again, the master passive we have here reduces its cooldown by a lot, so you're going to see yourself using this like 2, maybe even 3 times a fight. So you're going to see very common usage in it. Another thing to keep in mind is your in cold blood rotation, quote unquote, is what I'll say. Like, what you do is It's still pretty dynamic, but there's a bit more of like a set kind of thing going on with In Cold Blood. Because if you don't know, to the people who are brand new to Slayer, In Cold Blood is a 24-second buff post Apex, where your overhand strike does not have a cooldown. It gains a random damage modifier, which is trash by the way, and you gain a little bit more crit factor. And overhand strike, if you can't tell already, takes very, very, very large precedence in how you play Slayer, because it chains into everything, and over the course of a fight, it will do the most damage in your kit by far. So let's say you pop your buffs and all that fun stuff. Now what you do is a little bit more set, right? Which is you more or less just do what I said before, but keep in mind that you can immediately overhand strike after every single ability, which really helps you pump the DPS. Because with overhand strike having no cooldown, you're just able to keep the motion. Pay attention to how I'm animation canceling whenever possible, whenever my animation cancels are available. As I'm just able to just keep up DPS. Also, don't be afraid to just Savage Strike to the front or the side of a boss, because Savage Strike itself provides you with an 8-second buff, where all attacks on monsters are back hits. So, despite the relative position of the monster, you're not going to see a DPS loss from the sudden burst of mobility. So whenever you see it possible or fit, definitely pop that animation cancel. As long as you manage those overhand strikes and you pay attention to cooldowns, you should be fine. That's pretty much everything I have, like right now. If you guys feel like I left something out, or you guys just want to know more, I play on NA, and just tell me in the comment section like what you guys thought, and if there's just more information I left out, because I will gladly re-upload. Yeah, later. I forgot to mention in the video, but the build that you want for Slayer is going to be a full crit factor build in terms of accessories. Your total crit factor you're going to be looking for is somewhere around 356 to 376, because around there you're going to start seeing a lot of consistency on your crits, because Slayer does not have a crit cap. And it's at this point that you can start leaning a bit toward more power in your build. Personally, when I have a Mystic in my group and I'm trying to just squeeze in that little bit extra power in my build for just a tiny bit more DPS, I would recommend a powered earring and then power inner armor. You can afford this because with the appropriate crit etchings on most of your jewelry, you still should be around plus 320 to plus 330, which once again Slayer has a crit cap, does not have a crit cap, excuse me. So you're going to be seeing a lot of consistency there.